They found the truth about humanity by accident. It was never meant to be discovered, not by them, not this way. The Zorath Collective, an ancient alliance of hundreds of alien species, had always seen humans as primitive, emotional, and unpredictable. They watched Earth from afar, recording human wars, laughter, and strange habits. To them, humans were an anomaly, small creatures with loud hearts. But one day, everything changed. It started when Commander Veln of the Zorath Research Fleet found a drifting human ship near the edge of the dead nebula. The ship was heavily damaged, its hull blackened by plasma fire. There were no signs of life, at least, that's what their sensors said. But curiosity made Veln send a boarding team. The human ship was silent, floating like a coffin in the dark. Inside, the walls were covered with burned marks and bullet holes. The crew quarters were empty, but something felt wrong. The air carried a strange charge, a vibration that made every Zorath nervous. When one of the soldiers opened the main chamber, they found it. A message. Not written, not recorded, but burned into the steel floor with something like plasma energy. The words were in English, but the heat signatures showed it had been made recently. The message said, "We are coming back. Do not follow." Veln didn't understand it. The humans had no ships near this region, and no one had survived. Who could have written it? And what did "coming back" mean? They brought the ship to the central Zorath research station. For weeks, they studied it, trying to find the source of the strange energy that burned the message. The readings didn't match any known technology. Not plasma. Not fusion. Not antimatter. It was something older. Something that scared their scientists. Then the first human survivor woke up. He was found in a sealed cryopod deep inside the cargo hold. His name was Captain Isaac Wren. When the med team tried to revive him, every machine in the lab went crazy. Lights flickered. Gravity fields shifted. Even the security doors locked themselves. When Isaac finally opened his eyes, the power in the entire station went out for 11 seconds. When the lights came back, he was standing, unstrapped, free, and watching everyone with calm eyes. "Where am I?" he asked quietly. Commander Veln approached him carefully. "You are among the Zorath Collective. Your ship was lost. You are safe now." Isaac didn't smile. "Safe," he said. "You shouldn't have brought me here." The words froze everyone. The temperature in the room dropped by 2 degrees. The medtechs stepped back. Something in his voice didn't sound human anymore. Veln tried to remain calm. "Why? What happened to your ship?" Isaac looked around, his gaze sharp, almost glowing. "You found a ship, but not the truth. You should leave this sector and forget it exists. You don't understand what you touched." "What did we touch?" Veln asked. Isaac sighed. "The thing that made humans." The entire room went silent. For centuries, the Zorath believed humans evolved naturally, just another species on another planet. But Isaac's tone carried weight, as if he knew something no one else did. Before anyone could ask more, alarms started blaring across the station. A massive energy spike appeared near the dead nebula, exactly where they had found Isaac's ship. The readings made no sense. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a storm. It was a signal. Veln rushed to the control deck. "Show me the source." The screen lit up with a holographic display, a massive wave of red energy spreading from the nebula's core. Inside that wave, several shapes were forming. Metallic. Sharp. Human. "They're ships," whispered one officer. "Human warships, but larger than anything recorded. They weren't in our database." The ships appeared without warning, without communication, without identification codes. They moved with mechanical precision, forming a perfect sphere around the nebula. Every scanner that tried to read them shut down instantly. The ships were invisible to all known sensors, except one. Isaac's heartbeat. Every time his heart beat, the scanners pulsed with the same rhythm, as if his body was connected to the signal. Veln stared at him. "What are they?" Isaac turned slowly toward the main screen. His eyes were now glowing faintly blue. "They're the reason I told you not to follow." The hologram zoomed closer. One of the human ships activated a beam, thin, almost invisible, and pointed it toward the Zorith station. Within seconds, all systems froze. Time itself seemed to slow down. Every alien on board felt a pressure in their mind, as if something was watching them through their thoughts. Then, a voice echoed through the station, human, but not alive. "Observation complete. Humanity remembers." The lights went out again. When they came back, Isaac was gone. Velm looked at the empty chair, then at the dead monitors. For the first time in his long career, he felt fear, not of humans, but of what humans might truly be. The Zorith had thought humans were a young, emotional race. But now, he wondered, what if humans were something far older? Something that had only pretended to be mortal? And what if, after all these years, they were finally waking up? Velm couldn't sleep. The silence of the Zorith station felt heavier than ever. After the strange event, half of the systems were still frozen, and no one could find Captain Isaac. Search teams combed every corridor, every vent, every cargo hold, but he was gone, as if he had never existed. Velm stared out the observation window. In the distance, the human ships still floated in perfect formation around the nebula. No signal. No movement. Just waiting. Watching. He called for his science officer, Lyra. "Have we made contact yet?" Lyra shook her head. "No, Commander. Every time we try to send a message, the frequency collapses. It's like they erase our signal before it even travels." "Erase?" Velm frowned. "That's not jamming, that's control." Lyra nodded quietly. "They're not blocking us. They're rewriting the space around our message. Like they own it." Velm looked back at the hologram display. "Find me anything about this energy signature. We need to know what we're dealing with." But before she could answer, the lights flickered again. A low hum passed through the floor. It was the same vibration they had felt when Isaac woke up. The same pulse. This time, it came from inside the station. "Source?" Velm demanded. "Lower decks, cargo hold 3. Security teams rushed there. The air smelled like ozone, the walls glowing faintly blue. And in the center of the room, Isaac stood, calm, his eyes brighter than before. He looked completely unhurt. His clothes were the same, but his veins glowed faintly under his skin. Velm raised his weapon. "Stay where you are, human." Isaac didn't move. "You shouldn't have come back here," he said softly. "They can see you now." "Who are they?" Velm asked. Isaac tilted his head, as if listening to something far away. "You call them humans. But that's not what we really are." Lyra stepped forward carefully. "Then what are you?" Isaac smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "A promise. Long ago, before the stars had names, something made us, not from flesh, but from memory. We were sent to learn, to build, to forget what we were. But every 1,000 years, we remember." Velm didn't understand. "You mean your species was created?" Isaac's eyes dimmed slightly. "Created, yes. But not by gods or machines. By fear itself." Before anyone could ask more, the station's alarm screamed again. Massive power readings appeared on the scanners, this time from inside the nebula. "Commander!" Lyra shouted. "Something's opening out there." The holographic screen showed it. The red clouds of the nebula were spinning, forming a huge spiral. Lightning crackled between the human ships. And in the center of that storm, a doorway was forming. It wasn't a wormhole. It wasn't any known kind of gate. It looked alive, breathing light, bending reality itself. Velm whispered, "What is that?" Isaac's voice was calm, almost sad. "That's where we came from. And where we return when we're done." Lyra's hands trembled over the console. "Done with what?" Isaac looked at her, learning what fear tastes like. Suddenly, the door opened completely, and something huge began to emerge. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even a structure. It was a shape made of pure energy, shifting like liquid metal. Its outline suggested a human form, but colossal, larger than the entire station. Every alien on board felt a presence inside their mind, cold and infinite. Thoughts that weren't theirs began whispering. Memories that didn't belong to them appeared. Wars, pain, sacrifice. It was showing them what humanity had lived through. Planets burning. Children crying. Soldiers dying with their hands on each other's shoulders. And in every scene, humans stood back up again. Broken, bleeding, but never stopping. The Zoroth screamed. The visions were too much, too emotional, too raw. They had never known such chaos or such strength. The presence spoke through Isaac. His voice echoed like thunder. We are the echo of survival. We are what life becomes when the universe forgets mercy. Veln fell to his knees. What do you want from us? Isaac turned to him. Nothing. You wanted to understand humanity. Now you do. Outside, the giant shape extended a hand of light toward the damaged Zoroth ships nearby. In a flash, they vanished, not destroyed, but erased, removed from existence as if they had never been built. Veln's heart pounded. Stop, please. We didn't mean to. Isaac's glow faded slightly. Meaning is irrelevant. The universe remembers everything. You only forgot that we were its memory. Then, just as suddenly, the energy being withdrew. The doorway began to close. The human ships slowly turned away from the station, one by one, disappearing into the nebula's red fog. The silence that followed was unbearable. Isaac looked at Veln one last time. You asked who humanity really is. The truth is, even we don't know anymore. We only know what we must become when the stars begin to fear the dark again. And with that, he stepped backward into the light, and vanished. The doorway sealed behind him. The nebula went still. The readings dropped to 0. For a long time, no one moved. Lyra finally whispered, Commander, what do we tell the Council? Veln looked out at the dark space where the nebula had been. Tell them humanity isn't what we thought. Tell them they're coming back. He stared at the empty stars, a chill crawling down his spine. Because deep inside his head, beneath his fear, he could still hear that whisper. Observation complete. Humanity remembers. And this time, the voice was speaking his name. The Zoroth High Council chamber was silent. The walls shimmered with holographic stars, each representing a world under their protection. Commander Veln stood in the center, facing the council members, beings of different shapes, colors, and eyes that watched him with disbelief. He had told them everything. When he finished, the chamber stayed quiet for a long time. Then the eldest counselor, a tall being with crystal skin, finally spoke. Commander Veln, do you expect us to believe that humans summoned something from beyond space itself? Veln's voice was steady but low. I don't expect you to believe it. I expect you to prepare for it. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some laughed, some whispered. Others looked afraid. Another counselor hissed, humans are chaotic, yes. But gods. That is madness. Veln's eyes darkened. Then explain the erased ships. Explain how an entire sector disappeared from every record we have. You can't, because they removed it. Lyra stood beside him, trembling but brave. I saw it too. They weren't attacking us. They were demonstrating. Demonstrating what? Someone asked. Lyra swallowed. Power. And control. Before anyone could reply, the lights in the chamber flickered. A deep tone vibrated through the floor, the same pulse they had felt back at the station. Council members looked around, alarmed. Report. Veln shouted. An aide rushed in. Multiple sensor anomalies across the capital, sir. Energy readings identical to the human signature. The counselors panicked. How is that possible? The humans left. Velm turned toward the holographic display as it lit up with hundreds of red points across the planet. No, he whispered. They didn't leave. They spread. On the surface of the Zorith capital, strange events began happening everywhere. Machines that had never failed suddenly came to life on their own. Old satellites broadcast human voices speaking in forgotten languages. In schools, children woke up screaming from the same dream, a blue-eyed human standing in fire, whispering, "Remember." Lyra ran into the control tower. "Commander, it's not just us." Reports from 6 other worlds, same energy signature, same hallucinations. Veln's face hardened. They're not hallucinations. They're a message. He opened a secure transmission channel to every Zorith fleet commander. This is Veln. Humanity has awakened something. Do not engage. Observe and report only. But the warning came too late. Across the outer colonies, several Zorith patrol ships detected human vessels appearing out of thin space. Not warships this time, but small, smooth spheres of light. They hovered near orbital stations, scanning silently. One captain panicked and fired a plasma torpedo. The moment the weapon hit, the entire patrol fleet vanished, not destroyed, not exploded, simply gone. Empty space where they had been. A signal echoed across all channels, cold and calm. Observation error. Reset initiated. Then the spheres vanished too. Veln gritted his teeth. They're treating us like a simulation. Lyra whispered, "Maybe we are, to them." That night, Veln sat alone in his quarters, staring at a small screen showing Earth. The human home world still looked peaceful. No glowing ships. No energy spikes. Just blue oceans and green continents. He whispered to himself, "If they are gods, why stay silent now?" A voice answered from the dark corner of the room. "Because they're not gods. Not anymore." Veln spun around, weapon ready, and froze. Isaac Wren was standing there. His uniform was torn, his skin pale, but his eyes glowed faintly blue, like before. He looked tired. Veln aimed his blaster. "You disappeared into the gate." Isaac nodded. "I came back through it. They allowed it. They want you to understand before it's too late." "Understand what?" "That humanity isn't a threat." Isaac stepped closer. "We're the consequence." Veln frowned. "Of what?" Isaac looked out the viewport at the stars. "Long ago, before the Zorith existed, before your sons were born, something tried to destroy life completely. We stopped it, but it changed us. It made us more than mortal. Every time another species reaches a certain point, we appear again, to see if they are ready." "Ready for what?" Lyra asked, stepping into the room. Isaac turned to her. "For the next extinction." The words froze her. He continued, voice calm but heavy. "You think you're alone out here. You think you understand the universe. You don't. There's something coming, older than your gods, hungrier than war. We were built to fight it. That's what humanity really is, the memory of resistance." Veln lowered his weapon slowly. "And if we aren't ready?" Isaac's eyes glowed brighter. "Then you'll disappear like the others. But if you stand with us, maybe this time, life wins." Lyra whispered, "Why warn us?" Isaac looked at her sadly. "Because once, we were like you, curious, innocent, brave. And when we saw the darkness, we hesitated. We almost lost everything. I won't let that happen again." He placed a small cube on Veln's desk, glowing, pulsing with the same rhythm as his heartbeat. "This will show you what's coming. But once it starts, you can't unsee it." Then, before they could stop him, Isaac walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Veln called out. "To wake the rest," Isaac said softly. "You've only seen the beginning." And he was gone, vanishing like a ghost in a ripple of blue light. Veln stared at the cube. It hummed gently, waiting to be touched. Lyra whispered, "Commander, should we activate it?" He hesitated. His heart pounded. The galaxy outside seemed to hold its breath. Finally, he reached out his hand and touched the cube. A surge of light exploded through the room. Images filled their minds, planets burning, shadowed creatures moving between stars, and at the center of it all, the human fleet, shining like a wall of light against endless darkness. Veln gasped as a final image appeared, a massive object approaching from the edge of the galaxy, swallowing stars as it came. Then a voice echoed again. Cycle 73 has begun. Observation continues. The light faded. Lyra fell to her knees. What was that? Veln looked out at the stars, his face pale. The reason humanity was made. When the light faded, the room felt heavier, as if gravity itself had deepened. The glowing cube floated above the table, humming softly. Its light pulsed in rhythm with Veln's heartbeat. Lyra sat on the floor, still shaking. "Commander, what was that thing? What did we just see?" Veln didn't answer right away. He was still staring at the holographic echo burned into the air, the final image of that enormous dark shape moving through the stars. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even alive in any way the Zorith understood. It was something deeper, a shadow that consumed light. Finally, he whispered, "The reason humanity was made." The cube suddenly shifted, projecting a wave of blue light into the air. A holographic map appeared, showing the galaxy. One by one, stars flickered and dimmed. Entire regions turned black. The cube spoke in a calm, neutral human voice. "Extinction pattern detected. Estimated arrival, 300 standard cycles." Lyra stood. 300 cycles. That's not long. Less than a century. Veln clenched his fists. "What is it?" The cube responded, "Origin unknown. Entity designated, the Devourer." A holographic shape appeared, massive, indescribable, like a swarm of shifting voids. It consumes all forms of energy, matter, and thought. It leaves nothing. Humanity was designed to resist it. Lyra's eyes widened. Designed? By who? The cube flickered. By the memory of the universe itself. The words made no sense, yet they felt true. Veln whispered. Isaac said they were made from memory. Could this be what he meant? The cube glowed brighter. Humanity carries within its code the fragments of the first civilizations. They are living archives. When the darkness comes, they awaken. Lyra shivered. And we just triggered them. Veln turned toward the stars outside the window. If that thing, the Devourer, is coming, we can't face it alone. He opened a comm channel to the Zorith Council. This is Commander Veln. Prepare an emergency transmission to all allied species. Humanity may be the key to our survival. But the Council wasn't ready to listen. Hours later, the Council gathered again. Dozens of alien voices filled the chamber, some angry, some terrified. "This is absurd," one shouted. "You expect us to trust humans after what they did to your fleet?" Another hissed, "They erased entire sectors. That's not power, that's annihilation." Veln slammed his hand on the table. "You fools! They saved us from something worse. You think I wanted to believe them? I saw what's coming. We all will if we don't act." The crystal-skinned counselor leaned forward. "And what would you have us do, Commander?" "Beg the humans for help." Veln's voice hardened. "Not beg. Join." Gasps filled the room. Joining with humans was unthinkable. The Zorith had seen them as reckless primitives for centuries. Lyra stepped forward. "They're not what we thought. They're ancient. They carry something inside them, knowledge, power, memory. Maybe they were meant to stand where others can't." Silence fell. Then the elder counselor spoke again. And if they turn against us? Veln met his gaze. Then it won't matter. Because by then, the Devourer will already be here. While the council argued, strange signals began spreading through space. From abandoned colonies. From derelict ships. From places where humans had once walked. Everywhere, the same message repeated in 100 different languages. We remember. We return. Out among the stars, human ships began to reappear, sleek, silent, and ancient. They didn't respond to calls. They didn't attack. They simply watched. On one world, a mining colony reported that human-looking figures had appeared at dawn, walking across the desert. When the Zoreth soldiers approached, the figures dissolved into light, leaving only footprints made of glass. Fear spread faster than light. And then, Isaac returned. He appeared in the council chamber without warning, glowing faintly, calm as ever. "Stop arguing," he said simply. "You don't have time." Veln turned. "Isaac, you said 300 cycles." Isaac nodded. "That was the old estimate. But your activation of the cube changed the timeline. The Devourer knows you've seen it now. It will come faster." Lyra stepped forward. "How fast?" Isaac looked at her with eyes that no longer looked human at all. 30 cycles. Maybe less." The chamber erupted in panic. Veln shouted over them. "Then tell us what to do." Isaac's tone didn't change. "You can't fight it with your weapons. You need to remember. That's how we survived." "Remember what?" Veln demanded. Isaac stepped closer, his glow pulsing with intensity. "What it means to be alive. The Devourer doesn't consume metal or flesh. It consumes meaning. It eats everything that has no will to exist. That's why humans endure. We refuse to stop." He looked around the room, his voice soft but powerful. "You think fear is weakness. It isn't. Fear is memory trying to protect you. When the darkness comes, your fear will keep you alive, if you listen to it." Lyra whispered. "And if we don't?" Isaac looked at her sadly. "Then you'll forget yourselves before it even reaches you." He turned back to Veln. "Gather your fleets. Prepare your minds. When the stars begin to dim, you'll see the first sign, a silence that spreads faster than sound. When that happens, call for us. Humanity will answer." Veln frowned. "Why help us?" Isaac smiled faintly. "Because this time, we don't want to be alone." And just like before, he vanished, leaving behind a single phrase echoing through the air. Cycle 73. Resistance begins. Outside, the stars flickered once more. Across the galaxy, shadows moved between the systems, silent, endless, hungry. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, something enormous stirred, opening eyes that had not seen light in a billion years. The Devourer had heard the signal. And it was already on its way. The stars began to die. Not suddenly, but one by one. At first, the Zoreth scientists thought it was an illusion, a malfunction in their telescopes. But within a single cycle, entire constellations faded from the sky. Every light that vanished left behind the same reading, a hollow vibration, like an echo with no source. Commander Veln stood at the observation deck, watching the black spots spread across the galaxy map. "They're not going dark," he whispered. "They're being erased." Lyra looked pale. Then Isaac was right. The Devourer has started feeding. The control room buzzed with voices. Reports came in from every system. Colonies falling silent. Ships drifting empty. Planets losing power. It wasn't an attack. It was like something was sucking existence itself away. And there were no survivors. The Zoreth High Council finally understood the truth too late. Their networks were collapsing. The edges of their empire were vanishing into nothingness. Veln transmitted a final command to all fleets: evacuate outer systems. Gather near the central core. Humanity will come, they promised. But humanity did not come. Not yet. 4 weeks, the Zorith fleets waited. The silence grew thicker. Even their communication signals felt slower, as if space itself resisted their voices. Then, one day they heard it. A sound. A heartbeat. Every ship's audio sensors picked it up at the same moment, a single, deep thump, echoing through the void. Then, another. Then hundreds more, overlapping until the entire fleet vibrated with rhythm. Lyra stared in awe. It's the same pulse, from the cube. Veln stood. It's them. In the darkness beyond the last visible star, light began to bloom, faint at first, then growing stronger. Thousands of shapes emerged from the void. Human ships. Not the fragile crafts the Zorith had seen before, but massive, living vessels, glowing veins running across their hulls, pulsing like hearts. Each ship seemed to hum with power, carrying the same ancient rhythm that filled space itself. A deep voice echoed across every communication channel. Cycle 73. Humanity returns. Veln felt his chest tighten. He'd seen fleets before, but nothing like this. These ships didn't move through space, they bent it around them. They weren't using engines. They were using will. Then the largest of the vessels opened a channel. Isaac appeared in the hologram, standing on a bridge surrounded by white light. His voice was calm but commanding. Commander Veln. You stood when others hid. That matters. Veln bowed slightly. We had no choice. Isaac smiled faintly. There's always a choice. You chose to remember. Lyra stepped forward. Isaac. The Devourer. It's already moving. Whole systems are gone. Isaac nodded. I know. We can feel it. Feel it? Veln asked. Isaac raised a hand. Every human in the galaxy hears its silence. We were built to. That's why we came back. The hologram zoomed out, showing the massive human fleet, now stretching farther than the Zorith sensors could measure. We can't stop it, Isaac continued. But we can fight long enough for others to escape. For life to survive. Veln frowned. You mean to die fighting? Isaac looked at him. No. To live fighting. When the Devourer finally appeared, it didn't look like a creature or a machine. It looked like an absence, a wall of nothing swallowing starlight. Every scanner failed to read it. Every camera went blind. Yet every living mind felt it, a cold pressure, a whisper at the edge of thought. It didn't speak with words, but with hunger. The Zorith fleets panicked. Their weapons meant nothing. Their energy beams vanished the moment they touched the void. Then humanity moved. Their ships aligned in perfect symmetry, glowing brighter until they looked like stars reborn. The hum became a roar, thousands of heartbeats in unison. Isaac's voice echoed through every channel. Do not fear the dark. Fear forgetting the light. And then the human fleet fired. The blast wasn't light or energy. It was memory. Waves of thought, emotion, and history, projected like a storm. Every explosion carried images of human life, wars, laughter, love, creation, loss. The energy of existence itself. The void screamed. For the first time in eternity, the Devourer recoiled. But it wasn't enough. Veln watched as the first human lines were consumed, ships vanishing, leaving trails of blue sparks. But for every vessel lost, 10 more appeared. The fleet was endless. They weren't dying, they were reappearing, as if time itself was looping their sacrifice. Lyra's voice cracked. How are they doing this? Veln's eyes widened as realization struck. They're not ships. They're memories, projections from every human who ever lived. Isaac appeared on screen once more, surrounded by light and shadow. You see it now, Commander. Humanity doesn't fear death. We carry it with us. Every life ever lived adds to the fire. That's what the Devourer can't eat. Meaning. The human fleet shone brighter, pushing the darkness back inch by inch. But the Devourer adapted. Waves of silence rolled forward, erasing even sound. Velm turned to his crew. Send our ships to support them. Use the cube signal, link with their rhythm. The Zorith joined the battle. Their ships, once trembling with fear, now pulsed with the same blue heartbeat. Together, alien and human light merged. Memory and will combined. The Devourer howled, an ancient, endless noise. And for the first time, the dark retreated. Hours later, the battlefield was quiet again. The stars returned, faint, distant, but alive. Velm looked out through the window. Did we win? Lyra shook her head softly. No. It's not gone. Just sleeping. The hologram of Isaac flickered back to life. His voice was calm but tired. You've done well. The Devourer will sleep for many ages now. Long enough for your kind to grow. Velm asked quietly. And you? Isaac smiled. We return to the memory. Until we're needed again. As he spoke, the human ships began to fade, one by one, dissolving into motes of blue light. Soon, only the stars remained. The last words echoed through the void. Cycle 73 complete. Humanity remembers. The alien council chamber was silent. The lights dimmed, and the air was thick with tension. Every species in the Galactic Union had gathered, from the scaled Valorians to the crystalline Threxians, all waiting to hear the human commander speak. They had expected fear. Instead, they found calm, too calm. Commander Reeve stood before them, his uniform torn, eyes cold, voice steady. Behind him were holograms of destroyed alien fleets, ships that once could crush planets now reduced to dust. He didn't speak loudly, he didn't have to. His words carried weight heavier than any weapon. You thought humanity was fragile, Reeve said quietly. You thought our kindness made us weak. But you were wrong. Our kindness is our choice, not our limit. The hall rippled with whispers. The Threxian delegate, a creature made of glowing crystal, trembled slightly. You unleashed weapons that should not exist. How did you even create such destruction? Reeve's eyes met his. We didn't create them, he said. We adapted. That's what humans do. When we face extinction, we become something you can't predict. He turned toward the massive holographic map, hundreds of battlefronts across the galaxy. In each one, humans had fought not for conquest, but survival. You built empires, Reeve continued, but we built resilience. You built order, we built chaos that learns. One of the Valerian generals slammed a clawed hand on the table. You humans are monsters. Reeve's voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe. But we only become monsters when someone forces us to. The silence that followed was unbearable. Every species in that room understood something they had never believed before. Humanity didn't fight for power. They fought because they refused to die quietly. Then a new hologram appeared, footage from a battlefield on the planet Draven 9. Alien soldiers surrounded a group of human civilians. One human soldier, a woman named Lieutenant Mira Cade, stood her ground against impossible odds. When her rifle failed, she charged with nothing but a knife. She fell, but her sacrifice inspired every soldier nearby to rise and fight back. The footage ended. Reeve looked at them all. That's what humanity is, he said. We don't stop. We don't surrender. Even when there's nothing left to fight for, we fight anyway. A murmur swept across the chamber. Some aliens looked away in shame. Others, in fear. But one, the youngest Threxian diplomat, looked almost fascinated. You fight without hope? She asked softly. Reeve gave a small, tired smile. Hope is a luxury. Survival is instinct. The chamber lights flickered as the ship's AI, Arc 9, spoke through the speakers. Commander Reeve. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. Reeve nodded. Patch it through. A woman's voice echoed, strong and clear. Reeve, the alien fleets are regrouping. They've realized they can't win through force. They're preparing to negotiate. The room tensed again. The same species that once saw humans as pests now wanted peace. But Reeve didn't celebrate. He knew what came next. Negotiation means fear, he murmured. And fear means they finally understand. He looked around the room one last time. Tell your people this, he said. We didn't come to rule. We came to survive. But if you ever threaten our world again, you won't find mercy. You'll find humanity. The lights dimmed completely, leaving only the hologram of Earth floating in the air. Small, fragile, yet untouchable. The council members stared at it, realizing that behind that small blue planet was something beyond logic, a species that had earned the right to be feared. And in that moment, the galaxy learned a truth it would never forget. Humanity wasn't the weakest race. Humanity was the warning. The stars were silent that night. The war was over, or at least, that's what everyone wanted to believe. The Galactic Council had signed a fragile peace, and the fleets had returned to their home systems. But deep within the orbit of a dying star, something ancient had awakened, something older than any species remembered. Commander Reeve stood aboard the human flagship Eidolon, staring out at the red glow of the collapsing sun. His reflection in the glass looked tired, worn, but behind those eyes burned the same unyielding light that terrified the galaxy. Humanity had survived again, but this time, survival came with a cost. The ship's AI, ARC-9, spoke softly. Commander, we've completed decoding the alien data archives. You should see this. A hologram appeared before him, images of ancient ruins found across dozens of worlds. Symbols. DNA strands. Human bones. Reeve frowned. That's impossible. These sites are millions of years old. Ark's tone shifted, almost uneasy. Not impossible, sir. Historical probability suggests humanity existed before recorded galactic history. Reeve froze. You mean, we've been here before? Affirmative, Ark replied. Every major species carries fragments of human genetic code. It appears that humans were the origin, not the newcomers. Reeve's breath caught. The truth was horrifying and beautiful all at once. Humanity wasn't the youngest species in the galaxy. They were the first. Forgotten gods, erased by time, and now rediscovered by accident. The message continued, a transmission buried in the ruins, left by voices from the past. It was human. The voice trembled but carried authority. To whoever finds this, we are the architects. We seeded life to protect what was coming. We failed once. You must not fail again. They will come from the dark. Reeve stared, heart pounding. The dark. Before Ark could respond, the ship's sensors screamed with alerts. Space itself began to distort. Black shapes emerged from the void, entities that seemed to absorb light itself. No signals. No heat. No life. Yet, they moved with purpose. They're here, Ark whispered. The enemy the ancients feared. Reeve's eyes hardened. Then we'll do what humans always do. He turned toward the command deck. We'll fight. Across the galaxy, human colonies prepared. Soldiers who had just buried their dead picked up their rifles again. Civilians hid beneath shattered domes. Old enemies, Valorians, Threxians, even the once arrogant Ark's Dominion, now called for help from the species they once feared. Human fleets burned through the void, engines glowing like comets. But something had changed. They weren't fighting for Earth anymore. They were fighting for everything living. When the first shadow creatures struck, they devoured light and matter, ripping through entire moons. But humanity didn't run. They adapted. They learned. They found ways to turn darkness into energy, to bend the rules that others thought unbreakable. Reeve broadcast his voice across all frequencies. Every world, every ship, every species heard it. We now know the truth. We were here before any of you, and we built this galaxy so that life could survive the dark. It's coming again. So stand with us, or die running from it. The aliens who once called humanity monsters now called them protectors. The fear remained, but now it was mixed with awe. Because they finally understood what humanity really was. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were the universe's defense mechanism, born to rise when all others fell. As the darkness consumed the stars, the human fleets lit them again, ship by ship, battle by battle. And through the chaos, Commander Reeve whispered the last words that echoed through time. "We are humanity. We end what others cannot." And the galaxy, once terrified of them, now depended on them. Because in the end, when the dark comes for all life, only humanity stands and fights back.